Hello, this is Tina Hamilton, and I have a very special guest with us today, Bernard Williams. With his company is called Company Counsel, and I just am in love with the name because Company Counsel is, if you haven't guessed, a law firm, and so many law firms name their law firms after the people that are partners in the law firm. But Bernard went a different way with Company Counsel, and I think when you hear a story about his unique focus on helping businesses grow and evolve, I think you'll understand why. And I know that probably a lot of lawyers speak that way about helping businesses grow and evolve, but when we talk about the way that Bernard's run his business, I think you're going to see it a little differently. So, Bernard, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. All right, so tell us a little bit about how you started the business. You said it's been, I think, March of next year, it'll be 10 years. So he's heading towards his 10-year anniversary. Very exciting.
Thanks very
Congratulations.
much. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sure. So my story wasn't linear, right?
Okay.
So I graduated from law school in 2001. I went to NYU in New York.
Very impressive.
Thank you very much.
Hmm.
And my first job was at a judicial clerkship. I worked for an amazing judge on the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals in St. Louis. I then went back to New York to work for one of the largest law firms in the country. So I did commercial litigation in big law between Manhattan firms and Philadelphia firms for about 7 or 8 years. And at the end of that, I mean, I learned an amazing amount.
Yeah.
And it was great. I had things that we were doing were literally on the front page of the New York Times.
No way.
So it was exciting,
Yeah.
it was invigorating, and like I said, a great learning experience. But it didn't quite feel right for me.
You
And
didn't
I
feel like you
think
fit in that world, or
so. No, it felt something was missing. I was doing well,
yeah.
getting good reviews and that kind of thing. But I
Nice.
kind of felt like culturally it wasn't quite the right fit. I didn't really feel like I was thriving in the way that I wanted to be.
Okay.
Um, and in fact, it felt like even though I was doing well, I felt like I was um, trying to stay ahead of anybody realizing that I didn't belong there. And as long as I could keep doing
Ah.
well and keep performing, then people wouldn't realize that I just didn't belong in a big law environment.
Did you
So
not belong in a big law environment because um it just wasn't who you are, like that whole big corporate climbing kind of thing, or that whole big world
so
of law?
I want to be careful here because I still have a lot of good friends in big law, and in fact, my wife is in big law.
Oh, isn't
So
that interesting? Well, you're not insulting it. You're talking about who you personally, Bernard Williams, where you belong, right?
so it turns out that I was always an entrepreneur, right? And I don't know that I would have used that word for much of my life to describe myself.
I love that.
But I liked kind of being innovative and creative and coming up with different ways of doing things. I liked being in charge. I liked leading. I liked mentoring, and those are the kind of things that I felt like my job in big law was to not make a mistake, right? And not making a mistake is like the athlete's equivalent of playing to not lose, as opposed to playing to win. So I felt like I needed to be in a different environment to play to win. And once I kind of pieced all that together about who I was and realized that I really wasn't an entrepreneur, kind of in this corporate environment that where the people were lovely and the opportunities were great, but it
Sure.
wasn't really me.
Yeah.
So I decided to leave behind the law altogether. That was the plan, right? And I started a business doing tutoring and test preparation. My plan
No
was,
kidding. I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So the idea was that I've always loved to teach. I love to mentor that kind of thing, like I just said. So with this model, I was going to help kids to learn and to develop study skills, and I was going to make a positive impact on their lives. I really have always believed that education is empowerment, and because I was doing it as my own business owner, I didn't have a ceiling to my earning capacity. I'd be able to develop wealth and just create this empire, where I could become wealthy and help people at the same time. I was going to do well and do good simultaneously. Obviously, that did not end the way that I planned it. I'm no longer a tutor. I'm not, that tutoring company, that test prep company, did not quite work out the way that I'd hoped.
Okay.
I ran it for about 5 years, which is, probably about 4 years longer than I should
Okay. That's how you
have.
learn, right? That's yeah.
But along the way, some really cool things happened. I learned what it really was like to be an entrepreneur and a business owner.
Okay.
I While I had an entrepreneurial mindset before, I'd never actually been a business owner before.
Right.
So to actually be in the arena and making those decisions in real time and kind of um, making mistakes, being the one
Yeah.
to have all those things flying at you. I realized that running a company was a lot different than what I thought it would be, and it looked a lot different than what I experienced as a litigator, where I could look back on what had happened and where the mistakes were made, and be more critical in retrospect. As a business owner, everything I was doing was forward looking, and I didn't really had the benefit of hindsight. Uh, so um, so I learned that from the experience. And I also
Mhm.
learned that um, for me personally, as a business owner, I was good at a couple of different aspects of business ownership, and several aspects I was not good at. I was a terrible marketer. I was terrible at finance, and those are some of the things that wind
Sure.
up really derailing me. But what I saw was that in my peers, other small company owners, they were also good at a handful of things, and maybe not so good at all the others. And while I had the legal skill thankfully covered, a lot of my peers didn't have that part.
Right. Oh,
Uh,
I would love to have the legal skills. Yeah. Right. That makes sense. And I think that's common with any business owner. Nobody's going to be an expert at all the things. Yeah.
that's exactly right.
Yeah, you can't be.
And my first entrepreneurial experience really was my opportunity to learn that and to see that, and to realize that the legal skills that I developed over the past decade really were valuable and important and missing for most people in that small business marketplace. So, long story short, that's what inspired me to return to the law. This time, the focus on really helping my fellow entrepreneurs in the small business community to help them to make better decisions, avoid mistakes, grow and scale their companies, sleep better at night, and be more successful.
That's amazing. That's a great story. So when you started your law firm, you already had the experience of entrepreneurship. So did that help you? Did that make you feel more confident in starting this?
Uh, I don't know that it made me feel more confident. It made me more nervous, maybe in
Really?
some respects,
Okay. Go
because
ahead.
I'd always thought that there was a point in my life where I thought I had the Midas touch, where everything I touched seemed to turn to gold. All right. Very. I don't say this to brag. I say this really more to put into context
Yeah.
um, how difficult it was for me to have to run a company that failed. That was never supposed to happen. So um, when I had my second entrepreneurial stint and started my law firm, I was coming off of this recent defeat, and I felt like I was nervous. I didn't have a lot of confidence coming out of it.
Okay.
I had nerves
So
because
why did you do it then?
because well, one, because I was inspired. I really felt like there was a need,
Okay.
and that I was uniquely positioned to do it.
Yeah.
uh, and um, and I was motivated, and I thought it was a challenge. Um, I was confident that it could be done. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah, of course. Or you
but
wouldn't do it, right?
right,
You're not right.
but I saw it as an enormous risk, and I want to be very very careful in the way that I proceeded. And in any place where I thought I might have made a mistake in my first entrepreneurial journey, I wanted to make sure that I didn't the second time around. So I think I was a lot more purposeful and more determined when I started this company because I had had the previous
Right.
entrepreneurial setback.
So I'm sure it's easy for me to say this sitting here, but perhaps that first business was needed to happen. Like you almost needed to fail because the Midas touch thing can't last forever, right? I mean, I haven't met anybody yet that
It's,
has that touch, but fully their whole life. So maybe it needed to happen to humble you to get you to where you are now.
I probably needed to be taken down a couple of pegs. Fair.
Hey, we all have, right? All of us have a story that like that. That might be different, but you know, we've all been humbled down.
Th-
Like, yes,
Thanks, Tina.
yeah,
No, no, but in all seriousness,
yeah,
yeah, it was humbling
yeah,
to feel like I was somebody who had all these things going for me,
yeah,
who wasn't able to keep that business afloat.
yeah.
And it really showed me that it really does take a team, and a lot of those lessons learned, I'm applying it to what I do now, both for my own business and running it better now, and learn from the mistakes that I personally made in my earlier businesses. But also, I'm able to pass these things on to my clients,
Hmm.
whether it's legal advice per se, or just business advice, or just sharing experiences, or being a sounding board. I think having that first entrepreneurial journey in my background helps give me a much more holistic view.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, perfect. I love that. All right. So now here you are. You started this business almost 10 years ago. You have, I think you said a team of eight.
That's
There's
right.
one partner.
That's right.
Okay. But you're the only equity partner in the company at this moment. Yep.
The sole owner. That's right. Yes.
So, oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know all the language of law firm,
It's
and
okay.
nor should I, right? That's why I hire people like you to do that for me. So, what I found particularly interesting, and Bernard and I had well, we've known each other for a year or two, but few years, but what I learned today about Bernard that I found fascinating and 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 interesting was that you created this business to help impact businesses, especially particularly small businesses, which I assume you relate to because you have been a small business
That's right.
and you understand the pain of that and all that goes into that. Um, but you've actually created a model to impact businesses in a way that it's more approachable. I've never heard of this from a law firm. As a matter of fact, commonly the opposite. And forgive me to all my friends in all the law firms and all the law firms I use. I am so grateful for all of them. But I've never heard of this model. So I'd love to have you talk more about that.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
When I returned back to the practice of law, I did so really not so much because I love being a lawyer, which I do, but that really wasn't what brought me back. What brought me back was more my love of entrepreneurs and the small business community, and I wanted to find a way to support that community, because what I saw as an entrepreneur was that there were just so many instances where people will come up to me. Now, here I am trying to rebrand myself as an educator, and I'm trying to talk about the SATs and the study skills, and people would be like, "Oh, yeah, that's terrific, Bernard. That's great, but yeah, but my landlord, told me that there's this clause in the lease that says such and such, and is that true? Can you help me with that?" Or my employee came in and I need to discipline them in this way, but I'm not sure if I'm allowed to. What are my options? I found that people kept coming to me with legal needs, and the reason they were doing that was because they didn't have better options. If they already had an attorney they felt they could go to that was affordable and that was accessible and that met them where they were, they wouldn't need to go to the person who kept telling everybody that he was a tutor. Right.
Yeah.
So when I started my company, it was with those people in mind, and I wanted to do it in a way that just was different from how other law firms were doing it and how most attorneys approach the business model of client representation. So, for one thing, as much as possible, we wanted to eliminate the cost benefit analysis from seeking legal support. We wanted to create flat fees for the types of services that we know people are going to need over and over and over again. Drafting contracts, doing employee handbooks, LLC formations, the kinds of things that we know 99% of companies are going to need assistance with.
Sure.
We know well enough. We've done them often enough that we can put together flat fee packages, so the client knows going into it exactly what to expect, and there's never any sort of sticker shock when they get the invoice, or feelings of distrust about how much things are going to cost,
Right.
or that. I always say that if somebody has to do a cost benefit analysis to decide whether to hire an attorney, then they're already in danger. They're already in a position where they're potentially not getting all the advice or perspective that they need to make the right decisions. So we want to be very, very clear and transparent about our pricing so that people know what to expect and then they can plan for it. In addition to the flat fees, we also offer a program that I love called the Fractal General Counsel Service. And what we're doing there is it's also a flat fee program essentially, but it's a flat fee for the entire fiscal quarter. And it includes all the most of the legal things anyway, that a company would need throughout that quarter. We meet with our clients during the first couple of weeks of the fiscal quarter. We identify their rocks or their quarterly priorities or goals. We help them to understand what we can do from a legal perspective to make it more likely they achieve those goals and accomplish those priorities. And then we get off to work. And most of our clients either pay in one lump sum at the beginning of the quarter, but a lot of them break it into monthly installments. So it works essentially like a quarterly, or
Right.
rather like a monthly flat fee.
So you're literally giving people an option to make it easier to do business with you.
We're trying to make it as easy as possible. We're trying to really smooth the path for entrepreneurs to get the advice and the support they need so they can focus on their companies.
So that fractional model, I have definitely never heard of a fractional general counsel offering. That sounds really cool to me. It could be anything that's happening within their business in that year or that quarter or whatever.
Sure.
Right.
So some examples are, we want to hire our first employee, right?
Okay.
Or we want to hire a manager. Um,
Right.
we want to bring on a partner. We're expanding to a new location. We need new commercial space in
Sure.
such and such township. We want to create an incentive program to compensate employees who are bringing in sales.
Right.
It could be a variety of things. It depends on the industry and the particular company and what their goals are. But the reason that we set up that initial quarterly strategy meeting is because every business owner loves talking about their goals. If
Yeah.
you ask them what their legal issues are, you may not really get much response. But if you ask what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish, then the most business owners have a long list of things that they'll share with you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And most of 99% of those things have legal elements that we can support them with.
Okay, perfect. So it can be small startup businesses all the way through, but your focus is on that small business and helping them evolve and making the pricing part not be the focus. Where I just thought about, when we were talking earlier, when I call an attorney and I hear, prices anywhere from $500 to $1,000 an hour, all I can think of is I have no idea what this is going to really cost me because nobody can commit to exactly. They might be able to give you a sense, but they can't really fully commit to how much time something's going to take because you don't know what you're going to run into, right? But in your case, it's here's these flat rates, so you can plan, you can budget, you can be calmer and not focused on the money, just focused on the actual service.
And that's one of the reasons that we do it. Because you're right. I mean, once we start digging into an issue, it might be that it's a lot more complex than we thought at first.
Right.
We might have to
Can't
dig
know.
down a rabbit hole or really be creative to find a solution.
Right.
So we don't want you to not come to us because you don't know what the complexity is going to be or what we're going to need to ultimately do to solve your problem.
Right.
So yeah, we're trying to remove some of the hurdles
Yeah.
to entrepreneurs getting good help and good advice.
I love that. It seems like a model that would fit well in today's world, versus yesterday's world of the hourly rate, and which is necessary. I understand it, but this is cool, especially for small businesses because I love small businesses too. So, um, and now you're again almost 10 years of business. You're on a path to growth, and you mentioned to me earlier that part of that is through partnerships.
That's right. So we have an amazing team here in Greater Philadelphia, but we're licensed to practice in Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. So one of the things that we're really focused on over the next year or so is building out our relationships with like-minded attorneys in New York, in New Jersey, but really across the country.
Yeah.
Because when sometimes we have the opportunity to help somebody, but they're in a jurisdiction where we don't practice. And we'd like to be able to connect them with somebody that can provide them the same level of support and care that we would.
Yeah.
So one of our goals for the next year is to build out those affiliate relationships so that we can serve
Mhm.
people outside of our current footprint.
Yeah. And I imagine that would be good because a lot of probably law firms have that extra work that they can't handle or whatever, and that you could, right? And vice versa, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I know of people currently, who might have a firm in California or a firm in New York or a firm in Florida, and they do excellent work. And their business model may not be exactly like mine, but I know them and I trust them, and I would feel very confident sending clients to them.
Yeah.
So developing those kinds of relationships, which really increases our ability to provide clients with the types of services that they need, whether they're in my backyard or somewhere else geographically.
So there's really two big messages here for small businesses that are listening in, and that is, I think anyway, from what I've learned from you, and I really have learned a lot. I really have. Is one a what we just talked about, growing through partnerships. It's not always, like you said, linear, right? Like it's I think people think, oh, I started this business. This is what I do. This is what I should do, right? This is what attorneys do, right? They grow through just getting more and more and more clients and expanding your firm. And I'm probably simplifying it way more than it is, but in essence, and you're talking about doing something a little different, going through partnerships and helping each other, and instead of competing against each other. Not everything has to be a competition, right? We can work together and grow and evolve. But also, even more importantly, is the approach of eliminating barriers to getting clients, right? Eliminating to getting the right clients. Obviously, you
Right.
still want the right clients. They have to be able to pay you. But eliminating barriers. And that's something I have not heard about before in your industry is and I think something that everybody can learn from, because there's always a barrier, right? There's always barriers. And sometimes barriers you don't even realize are happening just because the world is evolving and changing. And so looking at um, whether it be annually or regularly or whatever, looking at, have I created new barriers? Has the world created new barriers to entry for me, right, as a business owner?
What I guess I'm fortunate that as an attorney, people will be very candid about what those barriers are.
That's true, right? That's why they're with you, right? Help me.
So yeah, there's a lot that that I'll hear at cocktail parties or at networking events and business meetings,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. There's people have opinions about legal services and their experiences working with attorneys. So whatever I can do to make those experiences more pleasant, more conducive to just creating positivity and helping the company and helping them to grow and to thrive. That's what I'm all about.
Yeah. And I can feel that from you because you're all about entrepreneurship. Otherwise, I'm sure if you would have stayed with the big law firm, um, it wasn't you. You recognize who you are as a person. You wanted to live a full life, right? Like so many people, when it comes to money, they'll just stay on that path because you probably could have made a fortune and just stayed on that path. And I'm sure you still are. I'm not suggesting you aren't, but what I'm saying is, in the corporate law, it's big money, right? You could just be doing that forever and making a lot of money, but not ever really feeling fully satisfied.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there are days where I kind of miss those the
Sure.
big love paychecks for
Yeah.
sure. Uh, yeah,
I get that.
but I enjoy what I do, and
Yeah.
I'm driven by purpose,
Yes.
and that's something that I didn't quite feel when I was in that other setting.
Yeah.
So I'll take the
I
trade-offs.
think it took a lot of guts. I don't know. That's me listening to your story. For somebody from the outside in, leaving a big, giant, high paying job, high profile. You said you've been in newspapers and all over, or your work you're doing is
Mm.
in that, and then to start completely over. It's just fascinating to me. So I think your messages from this podcast will go far with a lot of people. So
Oh, thank you.
thank you so much for this. And Company Counsel is the name of Bernard's business if you're in the PA, New Jersey, New York area.
That's right.
It's the guy to call. Thank you again, Bernard, for being here, for inspiring the listeners that are here in so many ways, and in any kind of business. I think there's so many applicable messages here that you shared. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.